Our reading for this morning is taken from the 18th chapter of Luke's Gospel, verses 1 through 8. Then Jesus told them a parable about their need to pray always and not to lose heart. He said, "In a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor had respect for people. In that city there was a widow who kept coming to him and saying, 'Grant me justice against my opponent.' For a while he refused, but later he said to himself, 'Though I have no fear of God and no respect for anyone, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will grant her justice, so that she may not wear me out by continually coming.' And the Lord said, 'Listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God grant justice to his chosen ones who cry to him day and night? Will he delay long in helping them? I tell you, he will quickly grant justice to them. And yet, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth?'" The word of the Lord. In a recent epistle, I talked about going out for walks in the afternoons. For the most part, I've gone downtown, so I get the exercise of walking back up the Brady Street Hill on the way back to Trinity. I've also gone in the other direction to Vanderveer Park. During the time that I taught at St. Ambrose University, I used to walk or bike through that park almost every day. And over 26 years of teaching, the trees in Vanderveer taught me a lot about persistence in the midst of change. By their very age, they helped me to give me perspective also about time, the length of time that they had been there and the length of time that they will remain. Persistence of people, not trees, is the subject of our parable this morning in Luke's Gospel. It's a curious passage. Like a lot of, we're introduced to a judge without scruples or integrity, and like a lot of Luke's parables, it can be a head-scratcher. That judge neither fears God nor respects people. Perhaps over time he's become cynical over the use of his own power. It's clear that he's not likely to pay any attention to the widow who comes and pesters him. But the widow is undeterred. She's already in a powerless position in society, and her persistence is the only power that she has. Eventually, the judge yields to her. But why? He doesn't respect people or God, so why should he yield to her? Following the time-honored King James Version, our translation suggests that he's just worn down by her persistence. But the original Greek is rather more ambiguous than that, because the verb it uses is literally one that means to slap a person in the face. So there's a hint that the judge might be shamed by her persistence. She's giving him a bad name, so he yields and grants her justice. Jesus implies that the disciples should be just as persistent as that widow was in petitioning the judge. After all, will not God, who is just, grant the petitions and the prayers more quickly than the unjust judge? Do not lose heart, Jesus says. Keep praying. He thinks they're likely to give up, which seems to be the meaning of that last verse. Will the Son of Man find faith on earth when he returns? Continuing to pray is all well and good, but what about those who find that their prayers are not answered? Jesus himself knew what that was like. If you remember, in the Garden of Gethsemane, he prayed to God that the cup might be taken from him, that the suffering he expected to come might be taken from him. And what's key is what he said next. "Yet not my will be done, but thine." He concluded that way, and Jesus knew that God answers prayer, but that the answers that God gives may not be the ones that are desired or expected. And that's why the long view is important. It not only provides perspective, it also gives us the incentive to persist. Jesus told us that in his parable that God will most certainly vindicate his people. The question was, will he find faith when he returns to earth? Will they remain faithful and prayerful? Well, those trees in Vanderveer have put on a bit of girth over the years, as have I. And this time of year, the leaves are changing quite a bit. And soon even the bald cypress will live up to its name and lose its leaves. But next year, by spring in 6 months, The cycle of life is a persistent one, and they will soon turn green again. Those trees have followed that cycle of life for many, many years. And I only hope that I can be just as persistent as they are, as persistent in my own prayer life, as I make my petitions to God for guidance, for justice, and for grace. Amen.